Have you ever wondered whom are you going to get married to? What are the criteria upon which you are going to choose your spouse? How can you make sure this is the right person, or whether you are going to get married at all? And why should it be the way it is? Marriage is a central element of our societies. However, do you think that we can find a strict definition of marriage? It may be described as a social habit, or a right that one should experience in his or her life. The definition varies with culture, legal laws, and religion. History can show great examples of these variations. An important question to ask is whether love is an essential condition for marriage or not. The idea of love as an essential feature of marriage started only with the beginning of the 18th century, before which marriage functioned as a political and economic unit to build bonds, self-inheritance, and share resources. This raises the question of what future of marriage should have. The actual legal and social traditions cannot give an answer for this question. This is because the previous implementation did not give a definite criteria for its application. It was just passed from one generation to another, like citizenship, without changing what marriage is. Since history does not seem to provide satisfactory definition of marriage, one finds himself turning to ethical and political explanations. Understanding the philosophical views of marriage along history would help in developing a strong idea of what marriage really is. Thus, do you think of marriage nowadays as different from its historical siblings? History can answer this question by giving the philosophers' views of marriage, which differs greatly from one era to another. For Aristotle, Augustine, and Aquinas, marriage was structured based on the differences between sexes and their distinctive futures, and all of this was based on nature and sacrament. On the other hand, in modern eras, a new ideal of relations between people started to appear. This gave birth to a new type of relations, such as homosexual marriage. As a result, marriage depends greatly on the cultural state and also morals and ethics of the societies. Marriage, as it serves to build a unit of the society and organizes economic and sexual relationships, truly is not independent of moral and ethical concerns. The moral view of a society constitutes much of what marriage is, as it's a moral contract between two individuals of the society. But this raises a question on how much this contract should be obligatory, and how much space for personal choice should be there. Should it be a flexible relation that depends on the individuals, or more of a society-building unit that has conserved futures? Is there a conflict between marriage being for the well-being of the individuals involved, or for the well-being of a society as a whole unit and the individuals as a part of it? Or can it just be for both? Would there be a contradiction between the two? Is there a certain way you should treat your spouse? Is it universal? Or is it up to every couple to determine what they owe each other and what they should and should not do?
I vow to help you love life.
One might find it more appealing to hold the contractual view of marriage, because any special obligations should be voluntarily undertaken, and you might argue that no set of moral obligations is morally different or superior to any other, and hence the choice between them is arbitrary, and each couple is then free to choose what set of moral obligations to abide by. But then what would prevent a set of promises from you to keep bringing your friend chocolate and messaging her feet from counting as marriage? And shall unilateral divorce then be permissible if you promise to love? Also, regarding the sexual exclusivity issue, should it be fine for the two parties to have sexual activity outside marriage if they did not promise sexual exclusivity to each other, or not? On the other hand, an institutional view of marriage derives marital obligations from the purpose of marriage, and spouses cannot alter these institutional obligations. Much like a doctor, to become a doctor one has to voluntarily accept the role and its obligations, but cannot negotiate the content of these obligations. Those who adopt this view are split into two schools, who have two different purposes of marriage. According to the first view, marriage must be between a man and a woman, as they can make children without external help, and the relation between them must be controlled by which is in the favor of their children, which means sexual exclusivity is an important feature of marriage. On love protection approach, a sexual love relationship is maintained and supported by marriage, structured by the behavior needed to achieve this maintenance. Partners become obliged to perform certain acts that sustain their love, such as focusing on the beloved's good qualities and keeping sexual exclusivity. So, what is your view of marriage? And what does its persistence through different eras and cultures mean for you? Does it hold any pragmatic value for you? Or do you think it is a mere tradition which is in its way to vanish?